I'm going to show you how we can create sermon slides for a given Sunday. Okay, so our first step is to figure out what the text is. Typically for sermon slides, all we do is just put the Bible text on the screen, and we can create extra slides for the speaker if they would like to add their own notes via PowerPoint. Or if it's an external speaker, they might just send us slides via PowerPoint or their own format, and that's fine too. But we're going to do where we create the Bible text, and also we give them notes that we could send to the speaker if it's a Riverside preacher. All right, so our first step is to figure out what slides we're going to need. And if we go to Planning Center, it should tell us this particular week, for instance, we're looking at Ephesians chapter 4, verses 22 to 24. So our first step is to just go online. Usually Bible Gateway is great. Find the NIV version of that passage. So let's do that now. So using Google, we have found Ephesians chapter 4, verses 22 to 24. We have those on the screen. We're going to highlight the whole text, and we're going to right click, or you can hit Control C, whatever you want to do, to copy the text. That's our first step, and then we will put it into PowerPoint. I've opened PowerPoint here. We use PowerPoint because it's pretty easy for editing. You could follow the same steps as you followed for the prayer slides template, just to create slides with text on it, but PowerPoint's pretty simple for what we need it for sermon slides. So we've got PowerPoint open here on the computer, blank presentation. We've got that open, and here's what we're going to do. We want to create the slides in the correct format, so we just, what we could do, we could open, let's see, we could simply open what a past sermon slide looked like. So that should be in File, Open, Recent. You should have one of the recent weeks. That's totally fine. So let's say it's 7/26 is a recent week. Let's do it. So we open this up, and it kind of has it pre-formatted for us. So that's pretty handy. I'm going to go ahead, and while I'm here, let's just save that as a new week. So sermon slides, this is actually, we're doing this for August 2nd. So we want to make sure that's formatted nicely and correctly. Alternatively, if you went to find a former week in the Open Recent and it wasn't there, you could also go to Open, and in the dialog that comes up, you should be able to, if you click Sunday Sermon Files, you'll be able to find recent ones in the Sunday Sermon Files as well that you can work from. And if there are none immediately available, you can click Old Slides, and Old Slides will have a whole section of past designs as well that you can use and just edit. But it's important, make sure you save as a new week, so you're not writing over that former week. So sermon slides 8.2, let's save it into the Sunday Sermon Files folder, so it's there for us. We click save, and we have a new file for Sunday Sermon Slides for 8.2. The first step is we're going to paste in that text we had put in we had just copied over from the internet. So let's do this. Spoiler alert, it's going to be a mess. So we hit Control V, or we could right click and hit paste, however you want to do it. Let's do paste. There we go. Oh my goodness, this looks nothing like we want to. So to edit it, to make it a little cleaner, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to triple click in there, or you could hit Control A, or you could right click, select all if it's in there. Oh, it's not. That's fine. Control A would do the same thing. It'll select the entire field if you're clicked in that text box. All right, so let's do that again. So we Control A, boom, we've selected all this text. We're going to do the following thing. We're going to change the font to Roboto, boom. We're going to make the font size 28. That's a pretty readable size. And we're going to make sure it's all bold. That makes it a little striking, a little more striking. Unbolded and bolded. That's easy to read. Now, for color, we're using the navy background, so we're going to go to our recent colors, And again, if this were a pinch, you could just use white. I mean, no particular thing. But we do have these handy dandy Riverside colors. The text, we're going to make this kind of off-white color. And the verse numbers, we're going to highlight individually. A little bit of a pain. It's definitely worse when you have a really long sermon passage. And we're going to make that blue, that kind of a lighter blue to see. Now, sometimes when you copy in the Bible verse, you're going to have like little footnotes. So you'll have like a little A in parentheses or different little reference notes. I would just delete all those things. And again, I like to just read through and make sure the text makes sense, that nothing got copied weird, formatted weird in the copy paste over. It appears that this text looks good. There's no random stuff happening. We're going to make sure the text is Ephesians is what we want. So we go to Ephesians, and it was 4:22 through 24. Now, if we had a passage that was too long to fit on the slide, it's really pretty simple to create extra slides. My policy is to just have whatever verses appear on this slide, just type those verses down in here. And let's imagine we have 20 verses and it's just going all the way down. It's way too long. In the right, we would just hit Control D. So on this keyboard, it's the Windows key and then the letter D, and that is a duplicate button. So that duplicates this slide down to here. What I would do then is we have this slide with all this text on it, all 20 verses. Then I would go up to this slide here and I would delete all the excess stuff that doesn't fit well, and then come down to the next slide, delete the verses that were able to fit on this slide, and then kind of do the same thing, and keep duplicating, so that way the whole sequential passage can fit in sequence. Now, if we wanted to have a page for the speaker to have notes, we could do that. You could just write insert notes here or something like that and save the PowerPoint into that folder, and you would be all set. But let's imagine the speaker doesn't need notes. They just want the Bible text behind them. So here we go. That looks fantastic. We are good to go for our sermon slides for 8-2 of 20. I'm going to hit Control S to save what we have there. Now I'm going to close out of PowerPoint. We're done working with the slides here. Maybe a little slow, but we'll get there eventually. And we're going to go back to ProPresenter, and we're going to insert our sermon slides into August 2nd, or whatever week we're working on. So we click back inside the ProPresenter window. We've got ProPresenter up there. Awesome. Let's import. To do that, we go to File, Import, Import PowerPoint. You guessed it. We're going to import the PowerPoint we just made. Where is it located? It is located in Sunday Sermon Files. That's where we should save it, so it's easily accessible. And we want sermon slides August 2nd. We just made that file, so that's really easy. We open it, and this should already be clicked. Import all slides as JPEG images. Boom. We insert. Now this will not put this will not put the sermon text. It will not put that PowerPoint into the playlist. It just puts it into our library. Once it's in the library, we want to put in transitions for it, and to do that, we click that little transitions button. If we could insert individual transitions onto every slide, but that ain't no one got time for that. So we're going to click the transition button at the very top right, and this will apply the same transition to all these slides. We're going to give it a dissolve, let's say 1 second, sure, looks great. Boom. So now all these slides will have a 1 second transition on them, as evidenced by that little blue rectangle. That tells us there's a transition that applies to this whole section. Now, the sermon slides are in our library. They look good. They have the correct sermon text. There it is, sermon slides 8-20. We can now drag it into our playlist for the week. I've got August 2nd is highlighted. It'll go after the prayer, let's say. And now it's in our playlist for the week. One last thing we do want to put in there. Where did it go? It's after the prayer. Okay. One last thing we do want to put on there is a slide cue to tell the back TV that these are sermon slides, and so it'll duplicate whatever image the screen shows. To do that, we go right-click on the slide, Add Cue, Stage Display Layout, and we click on the word Slides. And that little orange horn will appear. Now, when whoever's running this on Sunday, when they click this slide, it will tell the TV on the back of the sanctuary to duplicate whatever is shown down here. So we got, boom, our first slide, and it appears with a nice fade, just like we wanted. And we have the sermon slides in for the week.